All right, thanks for stopping by. I'm pleased to see how many folks are attending. So today we're going to talk about building apps with DrupalGap. Just a little bit about myself. My name is Tyler Frankenstein. I've been a Drupal developer for over 8 years now. I've contributed 14 modules. I'm the creator and lead developer for DrupalGap. 2 of my years as a Drupal developer I spent at the U of M University of Michigan Library as their Drupal developer. And then before and during that time, I co-founded a company called Easy Street 3 in Ann Arbor, which is a Drupal development shop. So I quit my day job a few years ago and do lots of Drupal stuff. So having a good time. Okay, so today we're going to build 2 example applications. The first one will be a mobile app, and it'll let us take a photo and record our latitude and longitude coordinates at that moment and upload it up to the Drupal site. Then the second app will be a web app, kind of like a headless Drupal, as it's been called lately. So that one will be similar to a store locator, and that will make some fake locations, and then when the app runs it will ask for our current location and then try to fetch stuff nearby us, show it how far away it is, show it on a map, let us click through to it. So real quick, what's the difference between a mobile app and a web app? So mobile apps are actually downloaded and installed onto your phone, typically from the Apple App Store or from Google Play. And then a web app it's really just a website, and it just happens to look like a mobile app, maybe if you scale it down, if your web app is responsive. The best thing about it can run in any modern browser, and it's accessible via URL. So if folks don't need to download it or install it, they can just run it in their browser. Okay, so app number 1, the mobile app. We're going to use Drupal, PhoneGap, and jQuery Mobile to put this together. Plus, well, those are the tools involved in DrupalGap version 1. So why Drupal? I don't have to spend too much time on it here, but we all know it definitely lets us easily manage our users, our content, and our files. So why PhoneGap? So PhoneGap lets us use familiar technologies that us web developers know, like HTML5, JavaScript, and CSS. And then it can take that and compile it into mobile apps for us. So we can write a single set of code, and PhoneGap can then spit it out to various platforms. And it's not just limited to Android or iOS. There's BlackBerry, Windows phones, the Fire OS, Amazon's operating system, Ubuntu phones, all kinds of stuff. So very, very popular, very powerful stuff. Okay, so then that means if we know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, then we can build the crappiest looking mobile app ever. So you see we have a very, very simple site up here, just a body with a header, maybe some simulated buttons, some content, and a footer. And if we run that through PhoneGap, we can actually run this app, and it won't do anything. But very powerful that we can just start from things we know and be building mobile apps in no time. So why jQuery Mobile? So it lets us take that simple HTML, apply some very simple attributes to certain things, and jQuery Mobile will go ahead and style that for us. So here's that same page with jQuery Mobile's equivalent. And a lot of the power comes from the data role attribute. You can attach that to certain divs, and it will just automatically style things really nice for us. So that's awesome and all, but how do we handle multiple pages? So about 4 years ago now, when I started first developing apps, I was taking this approach of building a static HTML page, and then the moment I wanted to make a new page, and the moment I select all and copy and was about to paste, I said, wait a minute, this reminds me of 1995 and building websites. There has to be something better out there. So not being so stubborn as I age a little bit, I actually did some research to see if there's any tools out there to make this possible for Drupal and helping with mobile app development. And not much was found. And that's kind of where I got the idea for DrupalGap. So DrupalGap is an open source application development kit for Drupal. And it's essentially, it's kind of like the middleman between Drupal and any apps that we want to deliver. So we use Drupal to easily build our websites, so let's use DrupalGap to easily build our apps. Easily build apps, you say. All right, let's see it to believe it. So I'm gonna build this live for us here. This URL down at the bottom is a blog post that details all this in painful detail, step by step. So definitely for reference, you can check that out. But for today, I'll just kind of blast through it, and you can follow along. Okay, so let's first have a Drupal site out of the box set up right here. Okay, so let's start from scratch. Okay, first things first, I need some helpful modules or we're going to be really slow here. So I'm going to change the color profile on this. It's probably easier to see. Oops.
Okay.
Everybody can see that okay?
Yep.
I'll straighten this up a little bit. Okay, so I'll SSH into my site. And for those who've never heard of it, be sure to check out Drush. It will save your Drupal life. So I'll use Drush to grab a bunch of modules that we're going to need. So I definitely want the admin menu module. Let's grab like views, see tools, DrupalGap, some dependencies of DrupalGap, the libraries module, grab GeoField, GeoCoder. That should be about enough for now. We'll check that out. What did I do wrong? I forgot to say download. Okay, so we'll download all those modules. And let's go ahead and turn on DrupalGap module. Should turn on all of our dependencies. And I'll go ahead and turn on Views UI. And also, I love the admin menu module, so I'll turn that on. And then I'm going to get rid of the normal toolbar and the overlay module that comes before. And we'll uninstall both of those. Okay, so now if we refresh our site, we should be cooking with some fire. Okay, awesome. So the first app, again, we want to build an app that lets us take a photo and record the current position. So in Drupal, we know we want to collect, an image and a latitude and longitude coordinate. So out of the box, Drupal comes with the article content type. So since it already has an image field for us, we'll just stick with this right here. But we know we also want to collect an image. Actually, I'm going to back up just a moment. I'm going to go over and make sure that DrupalGap is working properly. So maybe just test the connection, make sure it's good to go, and then you can, let's do that real quick. I have to do that this night. Normally when you come here, it notices that, hey, you haven't installed the SDK yet. Would you like to go ahead and install it? Click the one-click installer, one button. Okay, so what this does is downloads the SDK, tosses it at /mobile application or wherever you want it to be. So now if we launch this, we out of the box have a web app ready to rock here. So I will put this in a different browser. Oops, I was on that side too. Oopsie. There's some caches, I think. Sorry. So this is DrupalGap out of the box. It comes with some basic things to get you started. And obviously we want to be able to log into our Drupal site. So we have login ready to go out of the box. And now you'll notice if I go back to that test Drupal site, I'm now logged in here as well. That's because we're in a browser, it shares the cookie, so all session details are taken care of by Drupal. Okay, so it comes with, we can view user profiles, we can edit user profiles, all this stuff is built right in. It comes with a few starter pages. You wouldn't ever really put these in an app, it's more just there to help you get started. Like we can go to create content, it automatically recognizes the content types that you have on your site, so we can say, hey, let's create a basic page. Hello world. How do you do? We should be able to go ahead and save that, and we have a page here. So you're probably wondering where the body field is. I will show you. Okay, so let's back up and go back to our Drupal site here. And you'll notice that we now have a page on our Drupal site that we created from an app. But when we were looking at that page, nothing showed up. That is because by default, so DrupalGap comes with a display mode similar to other display modes that we use on our site. So this allows you to control which fields show up in your app. Whether you want a label, you can specify different formats and everything. So we will say we want the body field to show up when viewing a node in DrupalGap. And so if we head back to the app, refresh it, go back to our basic content listing page, and there we go. And so again, it comes built in with node editing capabilities, so we can edit the node from within the app, delete it, whatever you want. Okay, so that's just a little brief out-of-the-box DrupalGap tour. So let's go back to actually building the app that we were talking about. So we decided we were going to stick with the article content type for now. We already have an image field, so let's collect some more fields that we would need. So we'll get rid of tags, we'll get rid of the body field, and let's add a field to hold on to a position. Okay, and let's see, did I forget to enable GeoField? Probably. And there's a submodule that comes with it that lets you use Google Maps to display these positions. Good, so let's try that again. Okay, position. Okay, there we go. We've got a GeoField now, and we would like to collect a latitude and longitude. And we can just leave everything default, no problem there. And we'll leave all this stuff default too. Okay, so if we then go to content, add content, article, we're pretty much ready to build this mobile app. We have a place to collect an image and a place to collect a position. But we don't want to do it in Drupal, we want to do it in our app. So you'll notice that to get this field here, we needed the GeoField module. So just like Drupal, DrupalGap has contributed modules that you can install to extend the functionality. So there is the GeoField module available for DrupalGap. You can install this through the terminal or whatever, but there's a handy form here. You can just say, I want to install the GeoField project for DrupalGap and toss it into our app. Okay, so the GeoField module is now installed in our app. So that means if we head back to our app, refresh it, and say that we want to create that article, you can see that our GeoField position is showing up here. It comes with a little widget, so we click that, and you can see it's using HTML5 geolocation to pull our current position. And we could fill it out from here and everything, but this isn't a true mobile app. This is a web app. So to actually simulate a mobile app in your browser, the folks at PhoneGap made a plugin called Ripple, and you can install that in Chrome and turn it on. And you can more easily simulate a mobile application environment in your browser. So that's great because that means we can do things like inspect, the HTML that we're spitting out. We can monitor our JavaScript console log. So I highly, highly recommend developing in your browser first. You'll save so much time. And then when you're ready to go, actually compile it to your device with a few terminal commands. Hook up your phone via USB. So in the interest of time, I pre-compiled, I'll show you. So you can, once you're building your app in your site here, and when you're ready, you can say, okay, I want to, download my app. And what that does, if this works, it should round up your entire app into a zip file. Here's all the files that power your app. So as I was talking about earlier, PhoneGap, essentially we're just building a website. So if you see here, this is a website. I mean, we have an index.html file that'll fire first. Most of the magic happens in the DrupalGap binary files. Yeah, like I said, I pre-compiled this exact app, which really, we haven't even written a single line of code, but I just downloaded it, compiled it on my phone here. I'll go ahead and launch it. I'll kind of follow along with what I'm doing since you can't see my phone screen. Okay, so I will go ahead and log in. And everyone likes typing passwords on smartphones. Here we go. Bear with me. Okay, so I'm going to log in. Okay, then I will go to content, create content, article, so content, create content, article. Okay, let's say hello PA. Actually try it out. Say cheese, everybody. Okay, take a picture. Our image field there, and this is the part I always cross my fingers that I can get GPS coordinates in this room, and it worked. Awesome. That did not work 2 weeks ago in New York. I had to manually type it in. We do, thanks to Joe, who sponsored an issue, we now have a better, you can drop a pin on a Google map in DrupalGap now if you can't get a coordinate, but we'll check that out later. Okay, so I went ahead and saved that node on our site, and if we head back here, hey, hello PA. So there we go. There's a mobile app that takes a picture, records coordinates for us, and we did that without writing single line of code. Pretty powerful stuff, but let's spice this up a little bit and say we want to, instead of showing the position as latitude and longitude, let's show it as a map, and that'll be a lot better. Nobody cares about labels usually, and let's zoom in a bit to lucky, let's do 13, 16, how about that? Okay, so now if we check out this node in the app.
You did it in the default view, not the Drupal.
Right, yep, I was going to get to that. Thank you, Joe.
Sorry.
So we can view that node, but again, you'll notice nothing but the title is showing up. And again, that's because by default, the DrupalGap display mode on your content type shows no fields. So you decide what you want to show. So I'd say let's show the map in the app, and we'll say we want to actually show it as a map. Let's go with zoom level 16 again. Okay, and we also will show the image but let's make it a little more mobile friendly, and we'll pick an image style that fits better on our phone. Okay, so one thing that we do need to do is, in our app, we need to include the Google Maps JavaScript to our index.html. So I'll head into that mobile app folder, and I'll go ahead and edit the index.html file. And in here, we can include the Google Maps JavaScript. That way we can display Google Maps in our app. Here's our little inclusion script here. Drop that in. Write it, quit it, and now if we refresh our app, we can go check out that node. Should have a picture and a map. Oh, awesome. I mean, we could edit that node, pre-populates, we got our latitude, longitude, the picture's there, all good to go. DrupalGap also comes built in with support to add comments, so duty. Okay, so we can post comments from the app directly to our node. So again, if we head back to the website here, you'll notice that we should have a comment on that node as well. So again, very, very tightly coupled with your Drupal site, and takes a lot of the legwork out of it for you. Okay, so that is app number one, and literally the only line of code we had to write was including that Google Maps JavaScript, so pretty powerful stuff. So that is example number one. So let's head back to presentation here. Okay, pretty cool. So how does this all work? So DrupalGap inherits a lot of concepts that we're familiar with in Drupal. Modules, hooks, themes, regions, blocks, and menus. So all those things, it follows along. I try to make it exactly like how we do it in Drupal, but instead of writing PHP, we write JavaScript in our app to do these things. Okay, so then, as I've shown, DrupalGap has easy access to our entities, and in the next app I'll show you how we can talk to views and get JSON data from views and get it into our app. Plus, DrupalGap has built-in support to navigate through, pages and view user profiles, edit user profiles, add content, edit content, as well as taxonomy support. So it handles all of our core entity types out of the box. So really powerful stuff, and helps us build apps a lot faster. And there's some more. So, yep, like I mentioned earlier, DrupalGap has a lot of contributed modules that are meant to, extend the functionality that that module would provide in Drupal, but give it to you in DrupalGap. It also has a Forms API, so you can easily build forms. It's our best friend hook form alters in there, so you can take over a DrupalGap form if it's not doing what you want, or you can just make your own form. Very powerful stuff. How many people are familiar with render arrays in Drupal? Okay, just a few people. So those things you can use in your page callback functions to really output things in a very clean way. That way you're not writing HTML all the time. You can build up these nice little objects, and it ships them through Drupal's theming system, and other themes can override and hook into that. We also have localization support, so you can have a multi-language, and plus tons of other goodies, all pretty well documented on DrupalGap.org. Okay, so that was app number one with DrupalGap 1. So about 2 weeks ago, I released the alpha version of DrupalGap 2. And the big difference being that DrupalGap 2 is powered by AngularJS under the hood and CSS. So why AngularJS? And I will admit that I'm still I'm still a noob with Angular. I've only been using it a few weeks, so I'm not the best person to ask this question, so you can type that question into Google and there will be a lot more qualified folks telling you why. But even with my minimal experience so far, I'm blown away by AngularJS's power. But, however, if we all remember our favorite learning curve of Drupal, it's a little similar with Angular. Some folks might disagree. I have years and years of JavaScript experience, and jumping into Angular it's a little weird, but we all know that once you make it over the cliff here, then the money just starts rolling in. So we'll try to get that AngularJS too. Okay, so you'll notice that I just mentioned just CSS. So why just CSS? So a big complaint that I've gotten from folks with DrupalGap 1 is it's so tightly coupled with jQuery Mobile, and jQuery Mobile really is suggestive on how your app should look. So people were always asking, why can't I use Bootstrap? Why can't I do something like that? And I just said, well, 3.5 years ago when I started, I don't even know if those things existed. And I liked jQuery, I saw jQuery Mobile, so I rolled with it. But fast forward 3.5 years. There's some amazing things out there. I mean, I'm sure, I guess Bootstrap was probably around back then, but I was unaware of it. So the reason I did this was I removed any notion of styling from DrupalGap 2, so you get to pick your front-end framework that you want to use. Right now, DrupalGap 2, out of the box, has support for Bootstrap, and on the roadmap is to get Ionic and Foundation in there. And best of all, if you don't want to do any of those and you have awesome CSS chops, then you can just style your own app however you want. Because under the hood, it's just, again, this is just a website. It's just HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Okay, enough already. Let's build app number 2. So like I was talking about, this is very similar to a store locator. We'll set up Drupal to hold on to some stores or locations, if you will. They'll have an address, some GeoField, latitude, longitude coordinates. So when the app fires up, it'll say, hey Drupal, I'm located at this latitude, longitude. Give me some stuff that's nearby, sort it by things closest to me, and then the app will show it on a map, and it will let us click on those results to then see the full node view of that app. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so let's do the site building stuff to make this happen. So let's add a new content type. And I think I called this okay. So let's call it location. And we'll leave everything default, no worries. So if we're going to collect some location information, we won't worry about a body field for now. We'll just, let's say we want to collect an image for this location. We'll use our existing image field. We'll leave all that default. We want to collect an address. So we should then grab the SSH back in. And let's download the address field. Actually, let's just save ourselves a step and just say we want to enable it. See that we don't have it, download it, enable it. Bam, good to go. One more module that we need is the GeoCoder module. Okay, so if we head back to here, refresh, we can go ahead and add an address field to our content type. Okay, so that is a postal address, dynamic address form, good to go. Again, I think we'll just leave everything default. Now we'll just do totally default settings, no worries here. Okay, and then let's also collect a latitude and longitude coordinates for these locations. So we'll reuse our GeoField field that we created earlier. And we can leave all that default. But then let's change the widget on this to say let's geocode from another field. And what that allows us to do is say, okay, when we're creating this node, let's look at the address field, whatever data is in there, let's send that to Google, and Google will give us back a latitude and longitude. That way, you know, your content authors don't have to go fetch that information. Okay, so I think we are ready. We can collect the title of the location, have a picture just for our nicety, collect the address, and then the position will be autofilled by Google's GeoCoder. Okay, very good. So let's add some locations. So to save some time here, there's a handy module called NodeExport, which you can use to import and export nodes. So we'll turn all that on. And then I can more easily import some nodes here. So to save some time, I exported all of our example locations so I can just quickly import them. Okay, so bear with me while I do this. So we'll import all these nodes and hope that nothing bad happens. All right. So Carnegie, the CONSOL Energy Center. Square. And the zoo. Okay, so that is way faster than me manually inputting all those locations. Okay, so now we can see we've got some extra locations here, and if all goes well, we should have, we lost the picture, let's see, did we? Yep, okay, well I don't know what happened there, but I also grabbed pictures for that. Okay, images, which one are we on first here? The zoo, so I'll just quickly attach some images to each one of these. Okay, Station Square, let's toss an image onto that. The zoo I already did, we'll do PNC Park. CONSOL Energy Center. And Carnegie Mellon. Okay, so we got all those pictures attached. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to go ahead and disable the DrupalGap 1 module. Uninstall it. And then I'd like to download DrupalGap.
Do you need to remove it?
Oh, thank you. Yes. Yeah. Okay, get rid of the module folder. Okay, then we can go ahead and use Drush to download DrupalGap 7.x.2.x. Okay, grab that new version. Go ahead and enable that module, which does have a dependency, a little mini module I created called Angular Drupal. It's a helper between Drupal and Angular. It doesn't care about DrupalGap at all. You could be building your own Angular app without DrupalGap, and the Angular Drupal module and corresponding Angular module would help you there. But I digress. Okay, so we got the newest version of DrupalGap installed on our site, and yep, we should be good to go. Okay, so if a mobile app wanted to ask Drupal for stuff nearby and to be able to get that stuff in the app and display it, we can use views to do this. So let's create a view. I will call it nearby locations. And what we want to do is show content of type location. We'll do no sorting for now. We're going to create a page for it. And I like to put a .json extension on the end of it just to help me visually remember when I'm looking through all my views that this one here spits out JSON. And to do that, we can use the JSON data document display format. This is provided by the Views data source module, and it comes with a sub-module called Views JSON, which lets you build views and spit out JSON data for that view. Okay. So real quick, if we scroll down and preview this, we can see we're getting some JSON data about all those nodes. Okay, very good. So real quick, while I take care of my OCD, I need to change some view settings out of the box. I like the master display, advanced settings, and I like to see the SQL query, just in case. So we'll head back to that view. Okay, so right now, if the mobile app were to hit this page, or anybody were to hit that page, it spits out JSON to them. So that's all fine and dandy, but the app is going to need more than just the title to work with. So let's add some more fields that we want to give to the app. So how about the node ID? How about the image? And how about the latitude and longitude? We have to do those latitude and longitude one at a time because they share the same field. Okay. So I like to, when building these, I like to turn off the label on these fields, and I'll show you why in just a little bit. Okay, yeah, that should, let's pick up a whole lead. Okay, I'll turn off the label again. And this one I'll actually say I want it to be labeled latitude, and I want the latitude only to be spit out. Decimal degrees is all fine. Okay, so now if we scroll down, you can see we're getting some more data here, like the title is still there, but now here's our image, the source, so we can display the image easily in the app. And we have our node ID and latitude, but we also want the longitude. Oh, and I mentioned that I turned off the label on one of these fields. Let me show you real quick. If I turn on the label and leave it, they have a capital N by default. If you scroll down here, you'll see that the JSON has that capital N in it, which is, for programmers, that's no good. We want machine names only. So if you turn off the label on any of these fields, it'll automatically default to the machine name of that field, which is much more handy to programmers. Okay, so we also want the longitude to be spelled. Oops. And that is bundled in our GeoField. And we will force a machine name on this of longitude. And then we want to give longitude. Well, that should be good. Okay, if we scroll down, now we've got our coordinates. Okay, so that's awesome, but this is still just giving us everything. So now let's make this view be aware of our location, and we can use contextual filters to do that. So let's add a contextual filter. The filter that comes with the GeoField module is called the proximity filter. So if we add that contextual filter to our view, and I typically like to say, okay, if nobody provides the argument, don't give them anything, and don't let any sneaky Drupal developers that know the wildcard put that in there to get data. So we'll lock it out, that if they don't provide an argument, they don't get anything back. Okay, so we're going to use, I won't go over this too much, but we're going to do a radius search around the coordinates that are fed into Drupal. And in America, we hate to multiply by 10, so let's use miles instead as our unit of distance. Okay, so now if we scroll down, we're getting nothing. No nodes are coming in, and that's good because we haven't provided a contextual filter yet. So, on the session page, I have the latitude, longitude coordinates for this building. So let's drop those into our contextual filter. Okay. So the way that this filter works is a little touchy. It's you give it the latitude, comma, the longitude, an underscore, and then the radius of how far you'd like to search, given the unit of measurement that you specified. So right here, this is saying, give me all nodes within 1 mile of this latitude and longitude coordinate. And if we go update preview, we should get everything that's within 1 mile of here, which happens to be Carnegie Mellon University. But we're missing a key piece of data here, and that is, how far away is this exactly? Again, we can use that same, but now instead of a contextual filter, we can add a proximity field to our results. We'll turn off the label so we get our machine name. Let's round it to 1 decimal point. Let's put no thousands markers. And then we must specify this part's kind of hard to explain. It's like, where do you want to relate this proximity to? And we want to relate this proximity to the contextual filter that's coming in. And again, let's stick with miles. Okay. So if we scroll down here, we now see that Carnegie Mellon University is a ½ mile away. So if we slowly increase our radius here, we should start to get more results. But the only thing within 2 miles is Carnegie Mellon, so let's increase it even more. And if we go to 3 miles, we can see that CONSOL Energy Center is within there, so it's PNC Park and Station Square. And I think we're missing everything with the zoo, so let's up it to like 5 miles. And let's see if that gives us everything. Yep, and the zoo. Okay, and that is almost done, except every store locator in history will give you things sorted by closest to you. So again, we'll add a proximity sort criteria. We will use it from the contextual filter, sort in ascending order, and that will give us then, they're sorted in the proper order. And hopefully I didn't actually input these nodes in that order, but if I did, no worries, because the sort criteria would take care of it. Okay, so we now have a view that someone can pass latitude, longitude to it, and it will return back to us nearby positions with their latitude, longitude, node ID, their title, a picture, and how far away they are. So that is essentially the view that's needed to power a store locator for an app. Okay, awesome. So we got that. So let's go actually check out this app. So I'm going to disable Drupal. And you'll notice that the Drupal site was living at this test.easystreet3.com/Drupal. And I did that because for app number 2, this is a headless Drupal. It's a headless Drupal site. I mean, it's living, at the primary domain. Drupal is bundled, just in some folder within that domain, and then the app is living right here. So in the interest of time, I have this app pre-built as well. So it's a very, very simple app. You just visit it. You can see right away it's picking up your location. I had already granted permission to this page to have access to my location, but a visitor were to stop by for the first time and they get that bar across the top that says, would you like to share your location? So really, it just takes that location, feeds it up to Drupal. Drupal gives us back the JSON results. We iterate over them, put the dots on the map, and put out a simple listing here. And so you'll notice that this is kind of got a bootstrappy theme feel to it. That's because DrupalGap 2 out of the box has Bootstrap attached as your simple theming mechanism. So we should then be able to click on some of these nodes, and you'll notice down in the little status bar at the bottom, you can see that these paths are following the same paths that we would on a Drupal site. So if you navigate to node/123 in the DrupalGap 2 Angular app, it knows to automatically grab that node from the site, listen to your DrupalGap display mode, and render it. So if I didn't break anything, I should be able to visit one of these. And exactly what I was worried was going to happen is the picture's not going to work. And I think that if I add this to my settings PHP file, we'll just try this. This same thing broke in New York. But last night when I ran through it, it worked. Still baffled as to why. But I'm pretty sure it has to do with the image style system. So we'll try again. And if it doesn't work, I'm sorry, pictures are busted. Okay. So does everybody know about the image style module that comes with core, or it might be called something else? But normally when you request one of those images, it tosses on this iToken query string parameter on the end. And apparently that's, later versions of Drupal now require that token to generate these pictures. That way like an outside person can't like bombard your server and have you generating all these pictures. So I need to figure out how to get that into DrupalGap so we don't have to worry about it. But the way around that is you can set this to true and it'll not care about that token and it'll let people generate, anybody generate those pictures if they visit that picture's source URL. Okay, so we can, we can check out all these nodes in the app and they should all be showing up. Pretty cool. I didn't have time to wrap up GeoField for DrupalGap 2, so no map yet, but we'll get to that, I promise. Okay, so yeah, I mean that's literally the app. We can let the app start over and just look at it again, bask in all its glory. Start over. Okay, so let's actually take a look at how this app was built. Okay, so close out on this file. Okay, so this is I'll just briefly touch on the Angular stuff here. Okay, so this is very similar to hook menu in Drupal. Angular has its own routing mechanism. So you can define a route that it's like a URL for your app, and when someone visits that URL, Angular will catch it and decide who's in control of it and what to do with it. So I've extended Angular's routing system to provide a very familiar property that we know of called page callback, which lets us give a function name that will be in charge of rendering this page when someone visits it in the app. So the reason I added that was because it's super familiar to us Drupal developers, and it's an easier way to render your page if you want. Because if we do this, then you get access to DrupalGap's render arrays and all its widgets and all its glory. But then the best part is as awesome as Drupal is, sometimes we just hate Drupal and we just override something and keep it the way we want. And that's the best part about DrupalGap 2, is this is still just an Angular app at the end of the day. So if some page, DrupalGap's not doing it for you, you can just say F you, and I'm just going to build an Angular, I'm just going to use Angular. So it's very much less, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a assuming too much. It's still just an AngularJS app at the end of the day. So it leaves all the power of Angular to you, but kind of tosses on this friendly Drupal-y API. Okay, so back to it. So when someone visits my module/map, it calls this page callback function, which is way down here. And you can see this is a brief demonstration of render arrays where you can kind of pile them up. But this one's just a simple markup. And this is the coolest thing that I've seen in AngularJS so far, is what's called a directive. And that means you can create HTML elements. You can call them whatever you want. And Angular will say, oh, I see some HTML element. I don't know what to do with it, but I wonder if anybody is going to try to take this over. So if we take that and replace the hyphens with camel case, AngularJS will then, we can use this, it's called a directive. We won't get too much into it, but they are awesome. So we can literally just say, anytime that my module locations element shows up in the HTML, we can run this Angular goodness. Okay, so essentially what it does is when that element is tossed onto the page, it uses HTML5 geolocation to grab the user's current position. When it's successful, we'll have the position object. Okay, so we'll start building a path to that view that we created, the nearby locations.json. We'll grab our latitude and longitude from the position object. We'll specify our radius. We'll build up that contextual filter of latitude, comma, longitude, underscore, radius. And then this is a handy function provided by the Angular Drupal Angular module. It's a little weird, but this is, again, this can be used in any Angular app to easily get your views, JSON data into an Angular app. So we just pass it the path, the contextual filter, and it gives us back the rows JSON that was down here. Yep, so it just gives us back all these rows. So then we can, okay, so again, we're going to use another directive. This one is provided by Google. So we can just drop a simple UI Google map element into the page, and it'll toss on the map for us. And really, I'm going to glance over some of this stuff because we're running out of time a little bit. But essentially then we add a marker to the map for our current location. And again, this is another directive called map markers. So we just kind of build up the marker, attach it to the map. Okay, so then we have our map displayed, our current location displayed. So then we iterate over each of those results that come in, and we build a list item that we want to have show up down here. And when we do that, you can see that we can make it a link. So DrupalGap comes with the L function, so you can quickly build links to places. It comes with the T function for translating. And then you'll notice it's just like Drupal, it follows the same path structure. We just navigate node/node ID, toss that onto our items array. Again, build another marker for that location, add to the map. We'll glance over that. But then at the end, we use DrupalGap's built-in theming layer to theme an item list and put all that stuff on the map. So, yeah, AngularJS, a little intimidating at first, but just like with Drupal, be patient, give yourself some time, and you'll uncover the power. Okay, so that was app number 2. Okay, so pretty cool stuff. If anybody wants to get started, the DrupalGap module is of course on Drupal.org. The SDK is over on GitHub. DrupalGap.org contains tons and tons of documentation for DrupalGap 1, which is very production ready, running on over 1,300 sites. DrupalGap 2, as I mentioned, alpha was released 2 weeks ago, so not production ready, but looking ahead to the future for sure. These slides are attached to the session node on the camp website. If you want to check that, or if you need the slides at all. My buddy Joe was kind enough to take video, so we'll also have that posted as well. Okay, so looking just a little bit ahead to the future, Drupal 8, as we've probably heard, the whole RESTful API is all in core now, so it's going to be much easier to get JSON access to anything in Drupal. I do have the Drupal 8 pledge that I will have a release ready, which it's coming pretty quick, so I better get on that even more. I'm going to continue onward with AngularJS. That's my gut instinct that this is a good technology to choose. And then I'd also like to start adding support for other CSS frameworks. So with that, that is the presentation. And if anybody has any questions or comments, feel free to fire away. If not, come chat with me anytime afterwards.
Quick question with authentication. When you build the first example and you run it through the app stores, and they have logged into their app stores and they have their credentials there, how do you authenticate the individual from the app store relative? You have two namespaces. You have the namespace in the app store and the namespace in Drupal stack. Do you connect them in any way? How do you?
No, Drupal handles all user information. So people can. User registration is built in as well, so people can register from within the app to your Drupal site, and then they just log in with their Drupal credentials. So there's no doubling up. All the credentials, everything is up in Drupal.
So when you launch it as an app, then you have to put the credentials in the app at first to get going forward.
Yep.
Got it.
Yep.
All right.
Is there a question over there?
That's a part of it. Alright, so when it goes onto the App Store, Google's going to tell you what permissions you're going to receive. Do each one of the modules automatically have the permissions as you use them automatically setting? Or will it just broadly ask for a ton of permissions even if you only wanted a small part of the module?
Yes, when using the PhoneGap command line interface to build your app, I think out of the box it gives all permissions to the app. So then there's a configuration, there's a config.xml file which you can use to either pretty much drop or add those.
I would be dropping just to not intimidate anybody.
Yeah, definitely. Like usually just access to the internet,
People get really scared.
position
Like,
and
I have access to your phone book.
Yeah.
It's a little confusing because this was all just the headless Drupal and the Drupal's like viewing it on the web, but then you have to build it and compile it completely separate.
One of my first questions was I thought this was actually just making app-like websites, and then you said they show up on the App Store, because that was my main issue is if you make an app-like website, you end up with the browser bar and the forward and back things,
Yep.
and that takes up like 20% of your screen space,
Yep.
but you said that they put them on the App Store, so
Yeah, they
that
do it on the
means
store,
there's
which is awesome.
of those web browser things you can't get rid of.
Yeah.
When you compile it into the app, is that still kind of using like a web view wrap? So it's not like native button code or anything?
Yeah, exactly. PhoneGap just uses, I think, web views for Android. It might be called something else in iOS. But, yep, they just wrap it. And really, PhoneGap is almost just a browser that pops up, runs your website that happens to look like a mobile app.
Have you heard of Apple complaining about doing that at all?
No, they say they don't want you to, a common question I get asked is, I have a mobile-ready website, why would I want an app? And there's many reasons why you would want one or why you wouldn't want one, but definitely don't build an app that's just a replica of your mobile site, because Google won't care, but Apple might say, no way, we're not letting you publish this.
How is offline content handled when you're doing this?
So in DrupalGap 1, I wish I would have built that in the core, but I made a contributed module to help with that, to help with, like as maybe you're navigating around creating a node or something, this contributed module, it's called local forms. It'll detect like, hey, this person's offline and they just submitted this form, so grab their form state values, stick them in local storage, and just wait until later on when their connection comes back, and then run through that queue and like resubmit all those things. So it has decent support, but with DrupalGap 2, I've started with offline first. Like I'm going to build it assuming you have no connection, so it'll have much better support. But in DrupalGap 1, I ship put it in a contributed module, because I couldn't get it in the core really.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Guessing it offers multiple caching abilities for whenever you're bringing up a view, so you don't have to
Yep.
keep loading that view.
Yeah, entity caching and views caching is built in. You can, it's off by default, but you can turn it on. Yep, so it'll cache, nodes in local storage, so if somebody goes to revisit that node, you can pull it out of their device rather than heading back up to the server. Okay, I think we're out of time, but definitely if anybody has any other questions, just come say hi. I love to chat. And thanks for coming, everybody.